I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Going to the agenda. Yeah, well, no problem. Okay, this is a special meeting, Grand Traverse County Road Commission. It is April 28th, 12 p.m. If the clerk will call the roll.
Underwood?
Here.
Brown?
Here.
Gilman?
Here.
Lehman?
Here.
Mauser?
Here. And we have an agenda in front of us. Looks like specifically two items. Do I hear a motion or
Move to approve the agenda as it is presented.
now or change? Second. Carl Brown, supported.
Hey, can you hold on 1 second?
Okay, holding.
We got it. Make sure. Sorry about that. Try that, Joe. It's not broadcasting for us, not yet. Hold on. All right, just. Okay, we should be good now.
Okay, we're good to go.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I guess then what, we need a roll call of the approval of the agenda?
Brown?
Yes.
Gilman?
Yes.
Lehman?
Yes.
Underwood?
Yes.
Mauser?
Yes. Conflict of interest. Does anyone have a conflict of interest or a statement thereof? Hearing none. Get my phone here. Okay. Public comment. We have no. Maybe you don't have anybody zooming in on public comment?
Not yet.
Hoping there's one attendee just joined.
That was me.
I'm hoping that delay didn't. There we go. Okay, we're in.
Okay, so no one.
Okay, we have no one obvious, so I guess we have no public comment. Brings item 5, topic A, roundabout 4 Mile Hammond. And that's probably Elaine.
Yes, good afternoon. Before us today is the recommendation of award of the 4 Mile Road in Hammond Road Roundabout. I'll go through the recommendation, then I will talk a little bit in specifically about some of the bid and categories for you. Bids were received on April 26th for the 4 Mile Road and Hammond Roundabout project. These bids were advertised on the Minton Gov Bids website. The known qualified bidders were also emailed. Following table, we did have is the confirmable bid and our recommendation, staff's recommendation for award. And that is to Elmer's Crane and Dozer for the price of bid price of $2,096,030.60. So staff did review the supplied bid and provided bid results to GTCRC's partner agency, East Bay Township, for review and approval. An evaluation of the breakdown of the items by the agency, the GTCRC portion of the project is 5% over the engineer's estimate. The other two categories were East Bay Townships. The first, which is category 3, is for road work. Then category 5 is for water main and sewer extension. These were respectively at 22% and 25% over the engineer's estimate. Staff contacted known plan holders to inquire about absence of bid submittals, and we made contact with I think that's the update. Yeah. Okay. All right, little typo in here. So we did make contact with several bidders. One being a prime contractor. Contractor indicated that the GTCRC that those factors were out of the GTCRC's control for reason of no bid submission, and no indication on the plan's timeline or workload made bidding difficult or undesirable. Other contractors contacted were to be subcontractors only, and their respective bid items of work were not conducive to performing prime contractor duties. These contractors did submit quotes to provide subcontractor duties to potential prime contractors, but bids were not submitted by the prime. This is due to reasons mentioned above. Due to the timing and the rebidding and duration of the project, staff recommends awarding of the bid to Elmer's Crane and Dozer for the GTCRC road portion of the contract, with East Bay Township items of work contingent upon approval of East Bay Township Board. I did contact and speak with Township Supervisor Beth Friend. They will be having their next meeting on May 10th, where they will go over this. And also note that while these items are higher than the estimated, that they are within reasonable due to the given circumstances of difficulty of getting materials due to COVID-related items, as well as the extreme small number of contract unit prices onto there. So that has driven up the amount of pricing for their type of work.
Ultimately, though, the bottom line is that we would be approving what's going to cost us about 5% more than what the engineer's estimate is.
That is correct. Yes,
Okay,
our portion
because
of
East
this.
Bay just has to approve the increase for them. And for them, it makes sense anyway because of their planning down the road, so they don't have to pay us to tear up our work and redo it again.
Yes, so that is one of the items that they'll be noting.
Right.
Right. They're never going to get this at a cheaper price because it would require substantial road as well as additional utility working to get it in. So that will be over on their portion. Our recommendation to them is obviously to go forward. It's never going to get better. They may ask for our attendance at one of their meetings to discuss that. We will happily work with them on that.
Else got any questions?
I would move that we approve the submitted bid by Elmer's Crane and Dozer for the totality of the work for $2,096,030.60.
Okay, we have a motion and second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I guess we need a roll call.
Gilman,
Yes.
Lehman,
Yes.
Underwood,
Yes.
Yes.
Mallard.
Yes. Okay, I just got a question or two, I guess, just because this is gonna probably happen again here in the future. The swings between pluses and minuses here seem to be a great deal more than what is normal or what we've seen in the past. Yeah, do you attribute that maybe to the database that's out there as far as what bids have been in the past? Hasn't been updated to reflect the differences in costs of current bidding cycles?
Yes, so we use Merle, which is updated with regional prices quarterly, and so it does take a little while for those unit prices to get updated. We're also in this weird little time frame of COVID, so some of the stuff, even though we had reached out to certain suppliers of critical pieces, told that there was, supply and received estimated prices in which to base the estimates on. I think we're seeing that there's also, starting into the season now is demand. And so that is, perhaps driving some of these odd, fluctuations.
Yeah, and even though it's a category 3, this the light arms, an 8-foot light arm is 776% higher than the engineered estimate. So those babies must suddenly be gold plated or something.
And that's a standard. Right, standard 8-foot light arm.
You'd think they were a 2x4 or something.
That's even worse than plywood. Is there some re-engineering that we're telling we're not going to use 8-foot side arms, or is that
there are some items that we will be kind of trying to look at in regards to that, and I believe our contractor is going to be open to that, as well as the contractor could very well have additional recommendations in order to try to limit overages.
That's kind of bizarre. The other thing I noticed here is an aggregate base. 6-inch base is 13% less, but 8-inch base is 27% more. For 2 more inches of gravel, the percentage of swing there is, well, basically be 27 plus the 13. I mean, that's 50% swing to put 2 more inches of gravel. Maybe we just pay them to put 2 layers of 6.
Some of this,
1.5 layer of 6.
one of the things to know is none of this is production work. Roundabout, there's no straight lines to work off of, so we're going to be real busy with a lot of surveying and that, but none of this is real good, fast production stuff. So in areas where, we've got 8-inch, it's for a reason, but there's nothing going to be real fast about this project.
Yeah. It was just kind of interesting. That caught my eye. And then 10-inch, 108% higher. I guess we wouldn't want to use 10-inch anywhere. That would be.
I remember back when we were doing the Hammond thing, there were differences for each contractor had several 100% difference than the other,
Well, typically the contractor will put money where he knows that item's not going away.
Yeah.
So that's where they put their money. And they will do some other ones where they are pretty certain that we probably just aren't going to do this. It'll end up going away or whatever. So I mean, that's the game that they all play it.
Mobilization costs and things like
Right.
that. I won't say I've ever done it, but people have known.
Right.
To manipulate those things a little bit, especially if you have retainages and holdbacks and stuff. You try to front load things as much as you can.
Right. Engagement.
Not that I'm saying that anybody would really do that.
Right. But they all do it.
The question was, we have the money to cover our share of them.
Yeah, I think from the budget, which was developed, I think before the engineer's estimate, is like another $101,000. To our cost.
So we won't be out of the budget. Thank you.
Okay, I guess we moved and motion. Just got to get East Bay's answer.
Thank you.
Okay, Zoo Road discussion. Okay.
Carl and Alan and Wayne and Joe and I met with Doug Moyer out on site to look at Zoo Road Monday morning, and they are having a significant problem coming up with the money that would be needed to do a complete repair of this road. They have a $180,000 a year total budget. And we are looking at a very expensive project to do the entire thing. They just do not have, there's no way they could come up with even 50% of the total cost. So we went out, we looked at that, we looked at several different options, and we started talking about it. And I believe Jay has it scheduled already for high ridge removal, and we'll be able to get in there and do some ditching before we would get in there to do any of the road repairs. But we're really looking at about 4, maybe 5 locations that need to be addressed. So as we started talking about this, there's some questions as to, you know, do we treat this outside of our typical asset management plan, where our asset management plan would say, you know, the whole road needs to be crush and shape to make it a good final product? Do we start looking at it saying, okay, we're just going to hit these 4 or 5 really bad areas, make them multiple small projects on a 3-mile stretch, and then kind of address it that way because they just don't have the money to do it all the way? One of the areas that they believe is the worst, I didn't think was the worst. It doesn't ride necessarily great, but the asphalt is in better shape than the one area right off of 633, which is absolutely horrid. I mean, there is no way to fix anything there. I mean, the pavement it sits under a complete canopy of trees. So we wanted to discuss a little bit, you know, as we have been meeting with Jason and Bill about the cost sharing, you know, we have some things that need to be addressed anyway for cost sharing. But this is a question that, you know, goes outside of the norm of what we would normally say. We would say, look, this road needs to be crush and shake for the whole thing. That's what asset management tells us to. So now we're coming to you as a board to say, hey, do you have a problem with us stepping outside of the normal asset management and potentially doing some small sections of this road, realizing it's going to be more expensive, and they are going to pay more per unit price, but it will get the road into a shape that is at least acceptable. It just is not going to last as long as it should if proper asset management plans would maintain.
This is a 3-mile section?
They want to, they addressed it at the 2-mile portion of it from Wilson to the western end where it switches over and turns into Ramsey. But the other mile of it from Wilson out to 633, that's where the one stretch is absolutely the worst. And that has to be addressed because that's just to the point now.
That's paved out there right now?
Yeah, and there's a 3-mile stretch. The 1 mile that they were not going to deal with at all is one piece that we would say, you know, we could do a spot repair on. But the other 2 miles, they have about 4 locations that they feel they would be, if we could just work with them to fix those 4 locations, though it's not going to be a super long lasting project, it at least would get them by and it would get them to a point where they could say, okay, it's drivable. People are not having to cross the double yellow in spots in their farm equipment. Because as Doug Moyer said, you know, when he drives that stretch of road, if he's in his farm equipment, he either has to stop if there's a vehicle coming or go into the other lane to go around it. Otherwise, he's worried he's going to have problems.
What are we talking cost for crush and shape? Basically, I guess the entire thing, because if you have mobilization, you do the whole thing, right?
Right, yeah, I don't have that file with me. Want me to?
Well, I mean,
An idea.
I mean,
what, Joe, you said what, about if it's 2 miles, you'd say what, maybe 650 to 700?
750.
Wow.
So no, for the 2-mile stretch. So it'd be
As a
750,000
crush and shape.
to do a crush and shake for the entire thing.
That's just a big picture average over the last few projects.
And then
What a
what else?
crush and shake per mile is.
What else could we do to buy time?
And that's the small stretches, you know, we'd be looking at 100 yards here at one spot, and then maybe down the road, you've got, you know, 120 yards, 150 yards that needs to be replaced on one side of the road only. The other side of the road doesn't even have to be done, we would. But, you know, they're talking about literally cutting it into just hitting this little spot, but we can't do that. We can't go to the limited amount that they want because we have to chase to at least get the point where we're not creating a bathtub.
So, but you guys went out and looked at it.
The road's terrible, it needs work. Are you asking us to change our rate, to change the ratio of
No,
what we're allowed to spend?
you know, we are just looking for this as a starting point discussion. This is not something we're asking for a final decision on yet because we still are going to have to, we want to say, look, they've asked us for an estimate. They've given us the deal that they want to pursue this, but they can't afford it now. So do you support us moving into something and developing formal estimates to bring back to both their board and our board to say, this is what it would cost to do just these absolute worst sections of the road?
I think that'd be a good start, and then also see if you can get them to commit to what they can come up with in the now, and also if we could commit them for the next, I mean, just until we have a cost sharing thing figured out, ultimately, what could they come up with now? What could they come up with maybe if they needed to owe us a little something for a year or two?
Finance people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
at this
that's
point,
worked well.
at this point, our revised cost sharing doesn't exist, so we can kind of do whatever we want. But yeah, Carl, what's your?
Well, the partial fixes are still going to be not just going in there and willy-nilly trying to make something work. I mean, it's gonna be crush that, make sure there's enough gravel there, make sure the ditching is there. So whatever stretch that is, but it is definitely small projects down the road. So I'm gonna guess that it's gonna be, as far as if you're looking at unit costs, it's gonna be substantially different than if we were doing the 3 mile project. I mean, it's gonna be quite a bit higher. But
The unit cost.
the unit costs. But it's kind of one thing too is down the road, let's say that this becomes a whole total project, we would know that in those areas that our sub base is good and our ditching is good at that point, because we're going to make sure that those are there. So it's not like we're going in there and kind of trying to half do the job in those areas, but it fits the thing that, that the discussion was before of fixing small project on bad stretches of road. So I mean, it fits what we've talked about. We just haven't ever done it that way before, other than if it's a really bad section, you go in there and fix a little bad spot, but not quite to the same degree. It's a little more than that, I would say.
So this patch job, it wouldn't be totally lost. I mean, if we go in there and do this, it's not like it's just in 5 years. It's like,
The only thing that would be lost would be you would have a asphalt product that, let's say we went in there to do that road in 5 years, that stretch asphalt would get ground up and get paved back over. So that would really be, in my opinion, the only loss of a little bit of asphalt life. Is that right, Wayne? Don't you think? If you were going to do a crush and shape 5 years down the road,
Right.
because all that stretch of sub base and everything would be made sure it's okay where we do that.
Right. Depending on the length of the section that we do the sub base on, if it gets to be substantial, we could look at doing butt joints coming up to it, and maybe doing then a just a top course overlay that then ties everything in better.
So it would, like Brad said, that first stretch off of 633 there on Zoo is really bad. There's a little more to that too than just the road base, because the trees are there, and I'm thinking there's some ditching that definitely has to be addressed there too, probably. It did have big curve there, but I don't know that the water was going where it's supposed to go. But
And this is something, like I said, if I had Jay come in, because he's already got scheduled the High Ridge, but
Yeah, and that's-
if you have questions on what he was gonna do out there anyway,
right. And we
He
had
can
discussed
answer
that
it,
on there with Doug about the high bridge. That
Yeah.
that's our normal maintenance type thing. So that's out of the scope.
And
of
the
project.
only issue we have out there really is the fact that, just because we go in there and do a curb doesn't mean that farmer's not gonna turn around and fill that, but gutter back, or
Yeah.
drain ditch back in. If
Absolutely.
we go there, because they are right now, they're growing a crop in our right of way. I mean,
Right.
they've brought it all the way out to the edge of the road and they plant their crop right to the edge of the road.
Like corn is right there. So.
what I guess, what can we do about it?
Dig the ditch and tell
Dig up
Ron,
your corn.
to go out there and start enforcing.
I mean, we do have the enforcement capabilities with some teeth in it that they can if they keep doing it. I mean, maybe they're just doing it because nobody's told them not to, and better to ask forgiveness than permission.
Did he tell us how much budget can they afford? How much can they do? Even if we finance it?
I'll be honest with you, with the amount that they're gonna pay extra this year for brining, there's not gonna be much. I mean, it took them 8 years to save up $100,000 last time.
I think we need to look at, you know, and I'm not opposed to doing small projects like this, but I think maybe you need to reach out to because I know Molon does it now. They can crush and shape and Elmer's and that, and just see on something like this, if we're saying we're only gonna do this, what in fact is that cost gonna be? You know, I mean, does it, you know, maybe they're gonna price right out of the thing where we just say, hey, man, this just doesn't make a whole lot of sense at these dollars to do something like this, or maybe it'll be more reasonable than we think and we do it. You know, I don't know, you know, I know that, you know, your overhead goes way up when you start to do those small type things, because you've got all your traffic control, you've got all your mobilization, and you're not on the site long enough to recoup a lot of that, but you still have all those costs. So I think we need to see what the dollars would be to do it. And like I said, if it's reasonable enough, I guess I'm not opposed to figuring out how we do it. We did have money in the budget for small projects, and this would fit that category, I guess.
Well, jumping ahead to what our discussions are in the cost sharing thing, there may be a way that we can help make that work for them down the road, but we're not there yet.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I guess I would want to see, I guess, number one, reach out to these other contractors and see if they're available and would be willing to go in and do some of these small projects and what that would do to the cost based on what we've seen in these estimates so far. If anybody's even willing to do it, I mean, they say, well, we don't mess around with that. We get so many big jobs, and then there's no conversation to be had there, I guess. Nobody's going to do it. And then secondly, I guess in actual dollars and cents, I mean, an actual number of our best guess of holding our nose and saying, we're going to do this much. This is the least we can in good conscience do to make this road smooth, to put barricades up on each end, to keep it serviceable that the public can come and go. This is what that would cost. And then, okay, let's say, what do we think it would cost to do the darn thing right? See what the comparison is, and then talk to them about, like I said, we financed a couple before where somebody just absolutely didn't have the money and something absolutely had to be done. So we went in and did it, and then they paid it back over a couple, 3 years just because the only option was put barricades in each end, which is really not a good option.
Yeah, we did a 5-foot township, and they paid us right back. They paid up early, I think. If I remember right.
I think Bags Road was a little bit longer.
Yeah.
3 payments.
Well, we were Mr. Banker on Stadium Drive.
Where does this rank on our worst roads?
This is a local, so I don't know if we necessarily have it in recent numbers. When was the last time we even did a Payzer on locals?
2018.
Yeah, so our data, we're anticipating a collection here in the next 2 months of data, but we haven't done it. Last year was supposed to be when we were going to do it again, and then COVID kind of said, well, we can't have people in the car together, and it's kind of hard to do a job that takes 3 people without being in the same car. So,
How far are we legitimately from having to put barricades up on each end of this road?
oh, you go a while. I mean, we could pour,
It's not
we could,
that
we could pull a skin patch over a couple areas and be done with it for 5 years potentially, but it's still, you know, you're throwing good money into bad. You know, it's not going to really be the right fix.
No,
Unfortunately, we can't afford it.
it sounds like we're maybe beyond that, because I got a hunch that the right fix is going to be something that we're not going to be able to commit to at this point.
Right.
Well, ultimately, if
three
you were gonna
semis.
fix it, you'd do a pressure shape on it. I mean, that would be because it's beyond chip seal.
Oh, yeah.
So it's a crush and shape project. Is what it is.
Okay.
They only have a handful of asphalt roads.
Yeah, they don't have much.
They don't have
Grant
much.
Township.
Gravel.
But it's just their fact of their life is their budget is so small.
Right.
For everything they have to do there, they just don't have the extra that they can pull into roads.
The township's pretty much ag.
Yeah. Well, I guess I think we need to see some numbers, I guess.
Okay, that's what we wanted to
10,000,
clarify.
100,000, or a million.
You got it, right? You're good to go. Throw a little more at you, right?
Well, you know, and we're not looking for a high level of precision here, but just kind of ballparks. I mean, you know, maybe minor league ballpark, Yankee Stadium ballpark. But
Turtle Creek.
And then what you said, Carl, is anything we did wouldn't be removed at a later date, we just add on.
Right, we just go in, right, because that was the discussion we had, make sure the sub base is good, put the gravel down, pave over that. Because it would be a crush and shape at this point. I mean, if even the spots, you'd be crushing that up to do that. So yeah, your sub base would be good at that point. It'd just be matter of capping again, if that's. what
we
you
wouldn't
want
be
to do.
totally losing every dime we put into it to do these patches, but
Right.
it would be more, anyway, yeah.
More
Yeah, be more expensive.
Okay. Well, we will look into that. I have two little things that I want to bring up here. Number one, the one-man Durapatcher, when we listed it for you guys, what we expected to get from it at auction, we listed it at 125,000. We thought we were gonna get that. We put it out to bid twice, got zero response. At 90. Yeah, got zero bids. So somebody has contacted us now and they're offering us 105 for the Durapatcher and the emulsion tank, which needs to be rebuilt because the insulation is gone out of it. So we are looking at 105,000, and we know we're not going to find any more like that, anything better than that. So our intention is to sell that and make contact after this board meeting, unless somebody else has an objection to us doing that. It's the best we can find. We have done everything we can, looked around.
Official approval?
I don't think so. You've approved the sale of it. It's the 125, I'm just letting you know, because the 125 is what we anticipated. Unless there's some objection to it, then I think we're just gonna sell it.
Bill has to sharpen his pencil a little more.
That's right. He can do that. He's good at that. The second thing is we have had a couple of things happen for staff turnover here. And between that and some other issues that are happening, we are not prepared for a strategic planning this Saturday. We are just not going to be at that position yet. We have to get some bodies shifted around, and we need to make sure that we are moving forward with that. There's a lot of HR issues that need to be addressed before we can actually look at that strategic planning. And the gentleman from Garfield Township, who's most likely going to be doing this for us, was not going to be ready either. So I will get back with you. We're going to put it off by a few weeks at least. But we will get back with you as soon as we know what's gonna work for us to be able to get this taken care of with the staff changes in place so that those people can be at the strategic planning also.
Okay. So your selection of strategic planning maestro was a gentleman unnamed with the initials JS.
Yes,
We have
that
to
is
work in Garfield Township will remain unnamed.
Yes. Yeah, he was far cheaper. We had one person submit a quote for us for $42,000.
Holy cow.
And I said, no, we're not gonna spend $42,000.
No, I think
It's like,
And so he's in that, he's in the $5,000. So that's reasonable for what we're looking at. The other person was a little more, but they wanted to produce basically almost 100-page book for us to talk about all the things, and we don't need that much detail. And even when we started talking, trying to get him down a little bit from there, it was just the amount of detail they wanted to provide was just too much. We don't need that. We need just some general guidelines and some working points to move forward right now. And, maybe in a couple of years, we're a little further along and things are moving smooth, and we do a little more in depth. But right now, we just need to get some clear purpose for the commission. So that being said, I am all set, and I appreciate you guys coming in on a mid-afternoon.
Okay, I don't see a commissioner's comment section here, but I don't know, does anybody have any other comments, that we could jump to now? Pretty cool. Okay, last public comment, has anybody come online or?
Tori, that would get us
Nobody
a
online.
motion for adjournment.
Second.
Thank you, guys.